you how to make stop motion animation using Google Slides. Start with a blank slide with no text boxes or anything on it. And we're going to begin by finding a background. You can do a Google image search of any kind of background if you want to be under the sea or in space. For your background, you're going to want to find a good size image. So you can go to Tools, Size, and get the larger images. Find one that you like and get the image address and go back. When you're setting your background, you can right click on the blank slide, go to change background, and then where it says image, select choose, and then insert by URL or however else you're getting your image, and then select. Another option that you can do for setting backgrounds, if you wanted to have an object in your background that isn't part of the main background image, you can find something like a planet. None of these images I would want to use because they have a background around the objects themselves. So what I would want to do is go to Settings, go to Advanced Search, and I'm going to want to get PNG files. So under File Type, select PNG. This will not be 100% by any means, but it will give you a lot more options that don't have a background around the object. When you click on the image to see that it's the right one, you should notice the light gray and white checkered around it. That lets you know that the background is transparent. I'm going to use this one, copy image address, and go back. So something else that you can do, instead of right-clicking and changing the background, because I don't want my little planet to be there, but I want it to be, I don't want it to be my only background, but I do want it to be on all of my slides, and I don't want it to accidentally get moved because then it'll look funny in my animation. So if you go to View Master, I can add my little planet, go to Image, insert image by URL, paste my URL in there, and then insert. And there's my planet that I'm going to have in my background. This is also where I could add my space background image if I wanted to put that in here. So this is just another way of setting your background so that it is the same on every slide. You'll notice when I inserted it before, it automatically filled the entire slide. Now I have it covering up my planet, so I'll want to go to Arrange Order and send it back. And now that brings my little planet up in front of it. And when I'm done, I can just click Close. And then you'll notice if I go to my drop down, my blank master slide here, instead of just being a blank white slide, is now my space image. Okay, so now I have my background set. Now I'm going to want to choose some characters and objects that I'm going to put in my animation. So since I'm in space, I think I'm going to go ahead and have a UFO. Again, it's searching PNG files. Now, most of these still have a background, but you'll notice this one looks like it might not. It's got the white around it. So if I click on that, I'll see the gray and white checkered. That lets me know that it has a transparent background. And I'm going to go back and insert this UFO into my animation. I can change the size. Always grab the corners so that it keeps the ratio. If you grab it by the middle, it'll make it look kind of squished and skinny or fat. I can also use the margins on the side of my slide to have objects. I can either store objects on the side that I'm going to bring in later, or I can animate them so that it looks like they're kind of flying in. And I'm going to get an alien. So search alien images, PNG files. I'm going to use this friendly, peaceful looking alien, copy image address, come back to my slide and insert him here. Again, you'll notice the background on these are transparent, so there's not a big white box around him or some other background. And I'm going to store him over here on the side. You're going to spend a majority of your time setting up your first slide because that's what you're going to be working with pretty much the entire time. And again, if you have objects or characters that are not going to be in at the very beginning, you can still bring them in on the first slide and they'll just be sort of saved on the side here. Okay, so I'm just going to begin with this. Now that I have my planet, my UFO, my alien, I'm going to go ahead and begin the animation process. The way you do that is by clicking on the first slide over here on the left, and then Control D to duplicate. And you are just going to continue to duplicate slides and then move the objects a little bit at a time. And then duplicate the previous slide and move the object just a little bit at a time. It can be a little bit tedious, but that is what is necessary to get the animation. There are some different tricks that you can do as you're doing this. The little blue circle on the top, I can tilt my UFO to add a little extra animated feel to it. I can also make it feel like it's flying towards the camera by making it get bigger. Tilt it, make it a little bit bigger. Again, always grabbing the corners. And then at the same time, I can bring in my alien character. I'm going to have him appear on top of the spaceship, the UFO. Something else I can do here, and this is where you want to be careful with your background being set as a background or on the master slide. I can join these two if I'm going to be moving these two objects together by clicking and dragging over them and then going arrange and group. I'm not going to do that here because they're going to be changing sizes. So I continue to duplicate and move ever so slightly. And my alien is sort of popping out as my UFO is flying towards us. And just for the sake of this demonstration, even though this is a peaceful alien, I'm going to show you another sort of animation trick. So I mentioned you can group things. So if I had some red lasers being fired here, I can duplicate those. And what I can do is just click and drag around them, go arrange, group, and now these objects are together. So if I were having these shot, again, I would duplicate, grab these and move them together. A lot of times students ask, well, how much do I move it, or how fast, do we want this, or how many slides do I need to have to make this? In the end, you're going to be playing these about 1 or 2 milliseconds, 1 or 2 tenths of a second per slide. So you have to think, 5 to 10 of these will be 1 second. So it will take quite a bit. If at any time you want to do a preview, what you can do is you can go to slide number 1, click present, and then just kind of hit your space bar to click through it to see what the animation is kind of gonna look like. Okay, so we're firing these lasers and they're just about to hit the planet. Let's go one more. Okay, so I have these hitting the planet. I'm going to have them go away, and now I'm going to add another animation technique. If I go to insert images under callouts, there's a explosion. You could do this to show like something popping as well. And I'm going to add this explosion on top of this. I'm going to change the fill color. I'll make it red. And I'm going to start with it sort of small and go ahead and duplicate. And then I'm slowly going to make this a little bit bigger. And I can't just click and make the planet disappear there because I do have it as part of the master. So make this a little bit bigger. And I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger so it covers the whole thing up. This is sort of a problem if you are putting an image on the master as part of the background. If you're doing something like I'm doing now, I can't really make it go away. So I would slowly have this now smaller and smaller. So again, it's going to just add to that animated feel. I would want the planet to disappear, but if I take it off the masters, it will be gone from all of the previous slides as well. And I'll go ahead and make it like that small. And then I'm going to have it go away. Another thing, sometimes people may want to add text. Again, because we're dealing with slides that are only going to be up there for 1 to 2 tenths of a second, we're going to need to keep our text up for a while. So if I go to insert word art, and maybe I just want to put in and change that color if I want. If I were to add this on here, I'm going to want to have it on several slides because I have 5 or 10 of these. It's only up there for a second. So I'm going to go ahead and put a bunch of these. Okay, so not the best story here, but that's okay. I just want to show you how this works. So now we're going to go in and make magic happen by doing the animation part. So we're going to start by going File, Publish to the Web. We're going to have some options here. You'll notice you can only make it advance every second. If we were to actually play it every second, it would be very and it wouldn't really have a true animation feel, but we're going to fix that issue in a second. If you want it to automatically start playing, you can check that box. If you want it to loop and restart when it's done, you can check that. And then go ahead and click Publish, and it double checks, and you click OK, and it gives you a URL. I'm going to copy that URL and paste it in a new tab. You'll notice in this big long URL, it ends with delay ms equals 1000. That is milliseconds. So what we can do before we hit enter here is you're going to want to change that number. So again, I usually recommend somewhere between 100 and 200. Kind of depends on how much you moved your objects. You can play around with that number. A little note for if you're having students turn in the links to their animations, they're going to want to copy that right here before they hit enter. Once they hit enter and it starts playing, every slide has its own unique URL, and you won't be able to copy the entire thing. So Control L, Control C to copy all that, and that's what a student would turn into you in Google Classroom or on a Padlet or a Google Form or however you're doing it. But now that I've copied that, I can go ahead and hit enter, and my stop motion animation will start to play. And again, I've made it loop, so it'll just keep going. But there's a lot of great things that you can do with this, using it in social studies to tell history, using it with a map background to show trade routes or migration patterns, using it in science to show how systems work, the water cycle, having students tell or animate stories that they've written, narratives that they've done in English class, showing visualization in math. There's all kinds of different ways that this can be used, and it's a fun activity that the kids enjoy. So that's how you make stop motion animation using Google Slides.